Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. So this is a continuation of practical research 2 discussion. Yesterday we were talking about qualities of a good research instrument, and we have already discussed about validity. And also we have discussed the 4 types of validity tests, which are content validity, concurrent validity, predictive validity, and construct validity. We also started reliability, discussing about reliability yesterday, and we actually went ahead and discussed about test-retest method, and we actually answered this one. Although naipakita na yung solution, but we answered this manually. Okay? So today, inshallah, we are going to talk about the rest of the reliability tests, which are parallel method, split half test method, and then internal consistency method. And then we are going to talk about the third quality of a good research instrument, which is usability. So moving on. So parallel method. What is a parallel method? Again, this is something to do with reliability. Parallel or equivalent forms of a test may be administered of the group to the group of subjects, and the paired observations correlated. In short, you are trying to test if test A measures the same thing as test B. This is also called equivalent forms reliability. So for example, if you have a question that says convert 5 kilometers to meters, this is parallel or equivalent to convert 5,000 meters to kilometers. Aside from the fact that they are both converting things, no, they are also converting the same unit of measurement, which is kilometers and meters. But this type of questions can also be parallel or equivalent to converting, let's say, kilometers to miles or hectares to acres. Because the concept is there, you are trying to convert things. And there is a formula for converting different units of measurement. So it can also be parallel in that sense, okay? For as long as, again, you have a concept or a topic that you want to relate the parallelism to, then it can be equivalent in different aspects. Okay, so for example, again, you want to find the reliability for a test in English comprehension. So you made a set of 100 questions. You randomly split the questions into 2 sets, set A and set B. Then you administer those tests to the students 1 week apart. So for example, this week, set A will be administered to the students, and then next week, set B will be administered to the students. Now, in order to call the forms or the tests parallel, the observed score must have the same mean and variances. Okay, so we have talked about means and variances before, and I hope you remember how to compute them in your statistics when you were in grade 11 as well. So next we have split half method. This test, the test in this method may be administered once, but the test items are divided into 2 values. The common procedure is to divide the test into odd and even items. But it can also be, what do you call this one, half. Like for example, if it's 100 items, you can have 1 to 49, no? And then 50 to 100, something like that. So it depends kung paano mo gustong hatiin, but usually it is the odd and even items. The 2 halves must be similar but not identical in content, number of items, difficulty, means, and standard deviations. Each respondent will obtain 2 scores, okay? And depending on how the test is divided into 2 halves, that is to say odd items and even items, the scores obtained in the 2 halves are correlated. Spearman-Brown formula is used. If you can still remember yesterday, sa test-retest method, ang ginamit natin ay Spearman-Raw na formula. But this time around, you're going to use Spearman-Brown formula. And the formula is RWT is equals to 2 times RHT over 1 plus RHT where RWT stands for reliability of a whole test, and RHT is reliability of a half test. So basically, ang gagawin natin dito guys is hahatiin natin siya sa dalawa. We will get the RHT first and then we will get RWT later. Okay, so let's have an example. A test is administered to 12 students as pilot sample to test the reliability coefficient of the odd and even items. So this is the table, or these are the data that we have on this matter. So you have 12 students, and then andyan yung mga scores nila, and we divided the scores onto the odd and the even items. And then we have to rank the odd group and then the even group. That is why rank O and then rank E. By the way, guys, hindi ko na siya siguro i-manual because yesterday, I already showed you how to rank. Actually, gi-solve ko lang talaga siya manually yesterday just to show you how it is done. So I hope that you will watch that video lesson and you will apply the same, because it's the same idea. You have these things here and you just have to rank it. Okay? So, pag i-rank na ninyo yan, ito ang kinalabasan. So I hope you will try to practice how to rank. And this is only 12, what do you call this one, items. Yesterday, we ranked 15 items. So it took long. And this will take a little bit of your time, but it'll be very good if you try and practice. And then afterwards, yung rank ng odd group at saka yung rank ng even group, you have to get the difference. So that is the letter D. So you deduct the RO to the RE. So 8 minus 7 is 1. And then so on. And then this difference, you have to square. At pag na-square mo na siya, makukuha mo na ang summation of D square. Now, teach, what's the point? You don't have summation of D square on the formula. Well, that is just because RHT pala ang isa-solve natin. And the formula for RHT is equals to 1 minus 6 summation of D square over n cubed minus n, which is familiar. I hope this looks familiar to you because yan yung pinag-usapan natin yesterday, which is the, there we go, Spearman-Rho. RS nga lang ang pagkasulat niya dito, no? But as you can see, it's the same. Looking back here, RHT is equals to 1 minus 6. 6 times summation of D square over n cubed minus n. It's the same. So, ibig sabihin, ang pag-solve mo ng RHT will be using Spearman-Rho formula. And you're going to use Spearman-Brown formula for RWT. Okay, so now that we have the summation of D square, which is 25.5, as you can see here, ilagay na lang natin siya dito, which is 6 times 25.5 over 12 cubed minus 12. I hope you will try to do it on your calculator, but the answer would be 0.91. Now that you have RHT, pwede mo na siyang ilagay dito sa Spearman-Brown formula for the reliability of the whole test. So 2 times RHT over 1 plus RHT is equals to 2 times 0.91 over 1 plus 0.91. At kung itry nyo yan sa calculator niyo, inshallah, you will get 0.95. Very high relationship. Yesterday, I already explained as well what is the interpretation of the results of correlation, no? So we said that there is a negative correlation and a positive correlation. And if it's positive, then meaning as the x or the first variable goes up, letter y, or the second variable also goes up. But if it's a negative correlation, it means as x goes up, then y goes down. Okay? So, and since it's 0.95, meaning it's a very strong correlation, no? Kaya nga, very high relationship. So if the research instrument includes easy items and the subject is able to answer correctly all or nearly all items within the time limit of the test, the scores on the two halves would be about similar, and the correlation would be a close to 1.0 or perfect positive correlation. Okay? Now we have internal consistency method. This is usually used in psychological tests, which consist of dichotomously scored items. Ano ibig sabihin ng dichotomously scored items? It means there are only two options. Okay, for example, true or false. na question. In your examinations, di ba sometimes merong true or false, or maybe merong yes or no, or maybe merong high and low, or maybe merong, ano ba? You know, the questions where it says male or female, you know, or are you in or out, you know, yung mga ganon. So yun ang ibig sabihin ng dichotomously scored items. There are only two options, okay? So the examinee either passes or fails an item, just like true or false, no? Walang partial score sa true or false because it's either true or false. Okay, so a score of 1 is assigned for pass and 0 for fail. The reliability coefficient is determined by Kuder-Richardson formula 20. This formula is a measure of internal consistency or homogeneity of the research instrument. So you have the formula Rxx is equals to number of items over n minus 1 times SD, standard variance of scores, square, minus the summation of PIQI over SD square. Okay. So, ang formula na yan, guys, ang N dyan ay number of items. And then we have variance of scores, ang SD square. I got a little bit confused because usually SD is standard deviation. And that is variance though. So, but anyway, that's how the formula is written. Sometimes, guys, ibang books or ibang references ang gagamitin nyo. It will look a bit different. Just look at the definition or the meaning of the symbols, no? Para magets natin kung ano yung meaning niya. But for this specific module, it looks like this. So, ang summation of PIQI ay summation of the product of the proportion passing or failing in one item. We will understand that better later. And then the proportion of individuals passing item is denoted by PI and the proportion failing by QI, where paano mo makukuha ang QI? QI is just 1 minus PI. Okay, so later on, we will get a better look at that when we try to solve a problem. So steps in applying Kuder-Richardson formula 20. First, compute for the variance of the test scores for the whole group. Find the proportion passing each item PI and the proportion for failing each item QI. Multiply P and Q for each item. Substitute the calculated value using the formula. Okay, let's try to do this. We have an example. This is a computation of Richardson formula 20 of the 12 students' responses for a 15-item test. So this is, what do you call this one? The entire score. So ang mangyayari dito, guys, or ang ibig sabihin nito is, meron tayong 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 12 na students. Ito yung nasa taas. At meron tayong 15-item na test. So item number 1 or question number 1, number 2, number 3, up to number 15. Now, ang sabi niya, pag 1 ang nakikita nyo dito, ibig sabihin tama si student 1, no? Kung sino man yung student na yan, tama siya sa item number 1, tama sa item number 2, and so on. So, magbigay tayo ng example. Like, let's say, si student number 9, tama siya sa item number 1, tama siya sa item number 2, and apparently mali siya sa the rest ng items. Okay? So, some things that you need to take note of is that the total here, no, itong total below, ang sinisignify nito is the total number of correct items by student. No? So, ibig sabihin, si student number 1, ang kanyang score is 15 over 15. Perfect, diba? Si student number 2, 15 din. Wow, mashallah. Si number 3, 14. One mistake. And then si number 4, 12, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, itong frequency naman, it has nothing to do with the student, but rather about the item. So, for example, on question number 1, merong 11 na students ang nakakuha ng tamang response. For question number 2, you have 10 students who got the correct answer. And then, item number 3, you have 8 students, and so on and so forth. Yun ang ibig sabihin nitong part na ito na frequency. Now, for PI, ang PI naman is, let me get my calculator. So, ang PI will be, okay, frequency divided by total number of the students. Okay, sorry. Anyway, so ang PI is, how do you get PI again? PI is frequency divided by total number of students. So for this one, 11 divided by 12 is 0.916667, which is 0.92. Okay, so ano to, itong mga nakalagay dito is already rounded up. So how about for the second item? So 10 ang kanyang frequency divided by 12. So that is 0.833333 or 0.83. And then ang third item, 8 ang kanyang frequency divided by 12, which is 0.0667 or 0.67. So that is how PI was computed. Okay, again, paano kinuha ang PI? Frequency divided by total number of students. Not the total number of the items, but rather the total number of the students. Okay? And then, as was said earlier, dito sa taas, ang QI is 1 minus PI. So, this part, ano siya gi-compute? 1 minus PI. So, 1 minus 0.92 is 0.08. 1 minus 0.83 is 0.17. 1 minus 0.67 is 0.33, and so on and so forth. Now, that you have PI and QI, you just have to multiply them. So, 0.92 times 0.08 is 0.0736, and so on and so forth. And then, you will get the, anong ginawa ko? Okay. And you will get the summation of PI, QI. Okay. Now that you have the summation, you can go ahead now and get the variance. So how do we get the variance? I hope you can still remember your statistics. Okay, so you have 12 students. And then ito yung mga score nila. That is why this part, itong total dito sa baba, ay importante because you're going to use it here. Okay? So now that we have this here, we can get the mean. Which is ang mean ng kanilang score ay, so I will add 15 plus 15 plus 14 plus 12 plus 11 plus 9, plus 9 plus 9 again, plus 5 plus 2 plus 2 plus 1 plus 0. Okay. So 95 ang total scores, ang total ng mga scores ng mga bata. But that is not the mean because you have to divide it by 12 because we have 12 students. Now the mean is actually 7.92. Okay, so now that we have that, pwede na natin kunin ang x minus mean. This part. Itong part na to. Itong x minus mean. So how can we get that? We have the mean already, so i-minus lang natin tong x. So 15 minus 7.92 is 7.08. 15 minus 7.92 still the same. 14 minus 7.92 is 6.08. 12 minus 7.92 is 4.8, and so on and so forth hanggang dito sa 0. Now, the results that we have taken here, we just have to square. So, i-square natin lahat yan, and then we will get the summation. And that is the result of the summation. Now, yun na ba ang teach? Variance? No, not yet. We are just going to use those things in order for us to put them onto the formula. So S square, or the variance, is equals to summation of x minus x, mean squared, which is this, right? Over n minus 1, which is n ay 12 minus 1, 11. So, 354, ito yun, no? 354.9168 divided by 11. Ang ating variance is 32.27. Now that we have all of these things talaga, grabe na to. This time, we are now going to use all of those values onto the Coder-Richardson Formula 20. So, alam natin ang n. Ang n ay 12. Ang n minus 1 ay 11. Ang ating ang ating variance or S square is 32.27. Ang summation ng PIQI ay 3.0768. And then, wala nang iba, yun lang. And then we have this formula now. Guys, be careful, no? Sa paggamit ng calculator, unahin nyo yung mga naka-bracket. So 32.27 minus 3.0768 first. And then divide the result with 32.27. Kahit walang nakalagay dyan na bracket, guys, kailangan i-bracket nyo pa rin yan. Okay? Ang group ng ito, itong grupo na ito, itong first, ito sila, is different from the group here. Okay? Hindi sila pwedeng idiretso. Okay? That is why sometimes may mga estudyante ako na nagsasabi, teach, iba yung nakuha ko na result sa calculator. Iba yung nakuha ko, teach. And then I will look at the exam, no? Yung results ng exam. I was like, wow, wala ni isa magkapareho ang result, no? So, depende kasi yan sa paggamit yun ng calculator. So, be very careful in grouping these things, okay? So, the answer should be 0.97, which is very high, positive relationship or correlation. So, that is internal consistency. Well, anyway, tapos na tayo sa reliability. And although hindi ko siya talaga siya gisolve, no, ng manual, I hope you will try to practice in your own time. By the way, in your modules, meron naman talaga diyang mga practice problems. And I hope you will really answer those things. So last but not the least, on the qualities of a good research instrument na pag-uusapan natin ay usability. We have talked about validity. If the content, if it is indeed valid, if it does represent the study, no? Gusto nating malaman kung tama ba yung nasa questionnaire natin, tama ba yung device na ginagamit natin, tama ba yung measuring tool na ginagamit natin. So that is validity. Now, earlier we were talking about reliability. We wanted to know if indeed ang isang question doon sa iyong questionnaire ay reliable. And we have 4 tests of reliability. We have test-retest method, we have parallel method, we have split half method, and the last that we have discussed is internal consistency method. Now, last but not least, usability. It means the degree to which the research instrument can be satisfactorily used by teachers, researchers, supervisors, and school managers without expenditures of time, money, and effect. We have certain factors to determine usability. 1, base of administration. To facilitate the administration of a research instrument, instructions should be complete and precise. For example, for NAT achievement tests, yung mga NAT exam, there is a precise and complete manual given to teachers na magpo-proctor ng mga exam na yan so that they will follow that precisely. And even your exam itself, kada test na ginagawa ninyo dyan sa NAT, napaka-precise ng instruction. That is why sometimes, no, that is why sometimes, that is why, I'm sorry, but that is why sometimes, you know, or kumbaga pa malalaman mo na hindi nagbabasa ng instruction ang mga bata. Kasi tanong sila ng tanong. Napaka-precise na nga at complete ng instruction na nakalagay sa sa kanilang mga test booklet. That is why sometimes then, pag yung proctor ninyo tinatanong ninyo, anong isasagot niya? Read the instructions. Okay? But that is one base, no? That's one of the basis na usable talaga yung research instrument because it is, you know, the instruction is easy to understand and anybody kahit first time niya hawakan yung research instrument na yon, he or she will be able to know how to use it because again kompleto and precise ang instructions. Next is base of scoring. It depends on the following aspects. First, construction of a test in the objective type. Answer keys are adequately prepared. Scoring directions are fully understood. Okay, so like for example, if you have the test, then you're going to correct or check the answers of the students. Kung wala sa instruction ang basis of scoring, then hindi siya complete, no? But then, aside from that, for example, meron nga siyang scoring na ibinigay sa'yo, but then it doesn't have these specific aspects, then it's still not usable. Kailangan sabihin niya kung paano kinonstruct ang test. Kailangan nandoon ang answer keys, no? Hindi yung kailangan pang sagutan yun ng proctor bago niya makuha yung mga tamang sagot. And then scoring directions are fully understood. Like let's say test A should be 1 point only, test B is true or false, so 1 point only. Pero meron diyang modified true or false, so you have to correct if nag-underline talaga siya during pag nagsagot siya ng false. No, kailangan may specific na ganun na instruction about scoring. Let's say, for example, it has an essay type. So, dapat may rubric for checking dyan, may criteria. Like, let's say, if there was this keywords, bigyan mo siya ng 5 points. If the entire essay has good structure, then give the student 5 points. You know, this kind of things. It has to be within the research instrument as well. Number 3, ease of interpretation and application. Results of tests are easy to interpret and apply if tables are provided. I'm not sure if you have seen your NKE results. Pero ganon magbigay ng, tawag dito, results. it has specific, what do you call this one, areas na kung saan makikita ng mga bata kung saan siya magaling. Kasi nga, different areas, knowledge areas, and then it will give you the percentage kung gaano kataas yung nakuha mo sa area na yun. So that's really good. That is how you say that the research instrument for NCAE is indeed usable. Next is low cost. It is more practical if the test is low cost, material-wise. That's why kung mapansin ninyo guys, yung mga booklet na ginagamit ninyo sa NAT is hindi pwede pikuin. Hindi pwede sulatan, hindi pwede landagan, hindi pwede. No? Kasi nga, gagamitin pa yun ng next batch. Yes? And that is low cost. No? Kasi hindi all the time mag-print na naman ng bago. Ang DepEd. Hindi. No? By the way, masegue lang ako ng konti. Isa yan sa mga feeling ko na ugali ninyo guys, no? Hindi naman sa nilalahat ko kayo, pero meron iilan sa inyo na ganyan yung ugali. Na walang, what do you call this one? Walang pakundangan kung gumamit ng isang bagay. Na para bang akala niya, yun lang yung bibilihin sa kanya ng nanay, ng tatay niya, ng parents niya. Hindi good. No? So, kailangan mag-low cost living kayo. Okay? Hindi yung, alam mo yun, yung okay pa naman ng cellphone, parang papabili na ng bago. That is not good. Okay? So anyway, moving on. Last but not the least is proper mechanical makeup. A good research instrument should be printed clearly in an appropriate size for the grade or year level for which the instrument is intended. I am not sure kung nakita nyo na yung PhilErie na reading comprehension exam or test. In fairness, pag sa mga mabababang grade level, like grade 1 to grade 3, ang font size is like 18. Tapos pagdating sa grade 4 to grade 6, parang 16 ang font size. And then, gradually, lumiliit siya. Hanggang grade 7, if I'm not mistaken, 12 na lang yung font size. Okay? Because of course, kung bata pa yung mga magbabasa ng research instrument mo, it has to be big. Kasi makasakit sa ulo, di ba? Tsaka mahirapan sila pag masyadong maliit yung, yung font size. Okay, anyway, so I think that's it, guys. Thank you so much for attending the video lesson today. Okay, thank you so much for attending the class today. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.